Well, fellas, welcome to the first episode of the NFL 2023-2024 season predictions. Today, I'm doing the NFC West. There's no particular reason why. I just went ahead and I spun a wheel and let that decide for me. For any of you guys who are interested in doing something like this on yourself, the website that I used is playoffpredictors.com. You can go through and it gives every single game for every single team and all the matchups, and then it gives you the playoffs and whatnot. And after I get through each division, I'll eventually do my playoff predictions and preseason Super Bowl prediction. But I'll leave a link in the description for that. But disclaimer here, right? I would consider myself a decent ball knower, but I'm like by no means any expert. So if you disagree with me, that's great. This is my opinion. You can have yours, and we can discuss on it. So if you think I'm an idiot, let me know in the comments. If you think I'm a genius, also let me know. Gas me up. Getting right into the NFC West here. Winning the division, I have the Niners. No shocker. Going 13-4. They're a team that really didn't lose too many pieces from last year. And the big question would be is, does Purdy start week 1? I know that there's been talk that he's not going to start week 1. So what is his timetable looking at coming back? Because I'll admit, I'm not the biggest Brock Purdy guy in the world. I think that he's solid. He's good, does a good job of reading the routes, being accurate. He doesn't have a crazy arm. He's not really going to super create, but in that offense, in the Shanahan offense, you don't really have to. Seeing Sam Darnold right now is projected as second on the depth chart does kind of scare me, I'm not a big Sam Darnold guy. I never really have been. A big thing with Darnold is that he just puts the ball in harm's way too often, so I feel like that just won't clash together. And then obviously you have Lance. And now there's a world where Lance comes out and he is just incredible, and he's what a lot of these guys thought he would be when he came out of the draft. There's also another world where he still needs to sit and he still needs some time, and like that, I don't think that's a crazy opinion. I know a lot of people are already willing to write him up as a bust. The dude's like 23 still, so he's still super young. So I think that he'll be fine in due time. I have the Niners going 13-4, 5-1 in the division. Just to go at it quickly, in case you guys are wondering, for their 4 losses on the season, I have it losing at Cleveland, losing at Jacksonville, losing at Seattle, and then losing in Philadelphia. Honestly, I think that like the ceiling for this team could be like a 2-loss or even a 1-loss team, depending how well Lance would play. If Lance does play, I don't think Darnold really has crazy upside. So if anyone's going to help them hit that ceiling, it's going to be Lance. It won't be Darnold. Or if Purdy comes back, say like week 2, week 3, and he plays how he was last year. Because they got the freaking Avengers on offense. Moving on into the number 2 spot in this division, I have the Seahawks. Not surprising to anyone. I really like the Seahawks. And when I went through and I did each game and predicted everything, I was kind of surprised with how many losses I had them getting, because in my mind I think that they're going to be really competitive, but I ended up having them going 10-7. I have them going 5-1 in the division, their only loss being at San Francisco. I know last year they got like cranked by them in the playoffs, but I don't know. I think that this year they have more offensive weapons. I think their O-line's better. I think the young guys like Abraham Lucas and like Charles Cross, there's a good chance they take the next step up. And a really big thing to beat the Niners is to stop that pass rush, which I didn't even touch on before about the Niners getting Javon Hargrave, which he's a dog. But for the Seahawks, looking at their schedule, I have them losing to the Giants. That's at New York. That could be a toss-up. I'm also somewhat higher on the Giants than I've seen a lot of other people be. I have them losing at Tennessee later in the season. I guess I'm also higher on Tennessee than a lot of other people would think. Which, we'll get to that whenever I get to the specific divisions. But, for the Seahawks, like I was saying, with the ceiling and the floor for like the Niners, the Seahawks, their floor could be like 8-9. Because, they don't really have I don't know. I would say they have a hard schedule. I mean, you play the Niners twice. They play the Bengals. They play the Browns. They play the Ravens. They play the Steelers, obviously, because they play the entire AFC North. They play the Eagles. So I think the Titans are hard opponents. So there's a lot of toss-up games. They also get bailed out because they play the Rams and the Cardinals twice, which I think will be an easy 4-0. Because, shocker, I'm not really too fond of those teams, which I don't think anyone is. Um, but yeah, so I think that their ceiling, if Gino plays like he played last year, I think that's like probably the biggest thing. And how quickly does Jordan Brooks get back? Because Jordan Brooks he's incredible. I think he's one of the most underrated linebackers. He's really good in pass coverage. He's a great tackler. He's a great run stuffer. And that defense, notoriously isn't really a great run stuffing defense. They signed Jaron Reed, which I think was decent. He was okay last year. They drafted Devon Witherspoon, which I think Devon Witherspoon will be great. I was just kind of surprised by it because passing defense wasn't really an issue last year. But I mean, there's also a world where going into next year they have the best duo with Witherspoon and with Woolen. His name slipped my head there for a second. They signed Devin Bush too, which Devin Bush is okay. He doesn't move the needle too much, but I think that when Brooks gets back and they'll have Brooks and Bush, it'll be a pretty good duo. They signed Bobby Wagner as well, which again doesn't really move the needle too much for me. I think it's more of like Bobby having his last season and wanting like a farewell tour. Uchenna Nwosu played really good last year. If he could keep that up. Their pass rush does kind of scare me outside of Uchenna Nwosu because, Cameron Young, Draymond Jones, Mike Morris, these aren't really guys that are like premier pass rushers, and they're like not crazy run defenders either. So I think their defense could get into trouble with certain teams that just have elite D lines. But yeah, like I said, I could see their ceiling being like a 12-win team, and their floor being like an 8-win team. But I have them at 10-7. And then going into third place, I have the Arizona Cardinals, which is, I know it's shocking, because I know a lot of people probably have the Rams over the Cardinals, but dude, going through these guys' schedule, it's hard to give them wins, man. It's really hard. The Cardinals, they're 2 wins on the season. I have them at 2-15, by the way. So the 2 wins that I have them beating the Falcons week 10, and I have them beating the Rams week 12. I could see them beating the Bears week 16, but they're at Chicago. I could see them possibly upsetting the Seahawks if the Seahawks are closer to that floor than they are to their ceiling. I could easily see that being a possibility. They play. Yeah, this is tough. They play the Giants. They play the entire NFC East. But like I said, I'm pretty high on the Giants, so I don't think the Giants are going to lose a game like that. The Cardinals are just terrible, man. I mean, Kyler's not going to play probably the entire year, because if I'm Kyler Murray, there's no reason really to play the entire year. Say he's healthy by like week 11 and they're 1-10. There's not really a reason for him to suit up and risk re-injury, especially considering how injury prone he is. Their receivers really don't move me. I mean, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, he's solid. Just maybe not as a number 1. I like Michael Wilson a lot. I think he was a 3rd round draft pick. He's either 3rd or 4th. He's from Stanford. I like Michael Wilson a lot, but it's not going to be much to really move the needle in terms of them winning a game. I think Clayton Tune could be okay, but it's if Clayton Tune or Colt McCoy are starting football games for you, you're just in a bad situation off rip. Their D-line is pretty terrible. There's a lot of people like Paris Johnson Jr. I think he's got a lot of athleticism. Whether he contributes that to good technique and more strength, he'll be fine. But I mean, they have him listed at left guard, which I think will help him. DJ Humphries is okay, but Like their center, I can't even pronounce their center's name. It's Haljalate Frodolt. Yeah, I couldn't tell you anything about him. Will Hernandez sucks. Kevin Beacham's pretty bad. Their defense, Buda Baker's good. I think B.J. Ojolari could be pretty good. Kaiser White was a good pickup, but I don't know. I mean, you have what's his face? Simmons. I couldn't think of his name right there for a second for whatever reason. But I don't even see Justin Simmons. What do they even have him listed as? They have Isaiah Simmons listed as a cornerback. Which, I mean, he probably could do it. I mean, he's athletic enough, but I don't know. I think Isaiah Simmons could be incredible. He's just been so underutilized and mishandled in Arizona. But yeah, 2-15 is what I have the Cardinals at. And if you can guess, obviously, by reason of deduction, I have the Rams in 4th place in this division. I think that there's a real chance that Aaron Donald retires midseason or demands a trade midseason, or McVay retires midseason or something like that. Because there was rumors about that after they won the Super Bowl. Donald thinking about retiring. And then last year they're awful. And now this year I don't know. I know a lot of people probably won't agree with me because a lot of people still think that Stafford's really good. I don't, however. Kupp, I don't know when Kupp's supposed to be back, and that could make a difference. But, I mean, their O-line is, oh, my God. I mean, Steve Avila's promising. Rob Havenstein's okay. Joseph Noteboom sucks. Brian Allen is very mid. Their entire defense, I mean, Christ almighty. If I were to ask you, could you name, a defensive starter not named Aaron Donald on their defense? Could you really? Could you really? Because the only reason why I know any of these guys, by name, is just because of Madden. Well, actually, I know Byron Young. I know who Byron Young is, and I know Jordan Fuller. But, the reason why I recognize any of these other names is because I've played Madden. And that's not saying that I have opinions on these guys, but, Russ Yeast, what a name, first of all. Kobe Durant, another insane name. So, maybe these guys put it together. But the defense looks incredibly rough. And, the offense looks rough, and I know a lot of people are going to say there's no way that the Rams go 2-15. Which, yeah, I mean, you could be right. I think the Rams definitely, their area of how good they can be compared to how bad they could be is a lot more open, probably than any other team, I'd say. Because, I mean, there is a world where, say, Kupp comes back week 1 and he just dominates like he was before he got injured, and say Stafford's throwing arm is better and he has no issues with it, because I know that for a while he's been having issues with that, and it's almost a PCL injury, which is the ligament in your elbow, and it has to do with a lot of your velocity with throwing the football. But I mean, if Stafford's arm's not 100%, this isn't a team that's going to be relying on running the ball. So if you can't throw the ball 40 times a game, and if Stafford just doesn't have the cannon that he's known for, it's just going to be really hard to win football games. But the teams I have them beating the Cardinals the first time they match up, and then I also have them beating the Colts. Same thing I said with the Cardinals. I could see them beating the Seahawks one of these games. But, I mean, they have the same difficult schedule. I mean, they could beat the Commanders later in the season. That's the one that I went back and forth with. But I kind of like the Commanders. I'm a Sam Howell believer, personally. The Saints maybe is a back-and-forth game in Week 16. The Giants, Week 17, they could possibly win that. But there's certain games that they're not beating the Niners either of the times. They're not beating the Bengals. They're not beating the Eagles. They're probably not beating the Steelers. They're not beating the Cowboys. I don't think they're going to beat the Packers. They're not going to beat the Browns. They're not going to beat the Ravens. So that's already 9 guaranteed losses right there. And then with the other teams, you have the Seahawks. They're probably not going to sweep the Seahawks. That's 10 right there. The Saints, the Giants, Commanders. You know, they have them splitting with the Cardinals. I think the roster is just so bad, and it's the same thing with the Cardinals. Like with the Rams, I could see them legitimately winning only one game, and that being against the Cardinals, or maybe they win two, but both those games are against the Cardinals. But outside of that, I mean, I could, like I said, I could see a world where the Rams end up winning like 4 or 5, 6 games. But I mean, God, the Cardinals and the Rams are gonna have an absolute mid off all season. Like whatever game that the Cardinals and Rams are gonna be playing, it's just gonna be not watchable football. I mean, in Week 16 when they play the Saints, that's a Thursday night game. I'll tell you what, I probably will not be tuning into that one, unless somehow the Rams are really good or the Saints are just way worse than expected. That'll probably be an awful game. And just think about it, I wonder, do the Cardinals no, the Cardinals don't have primetime games, I don't think, at least, which thank God for that. They're gonna be an eyesore this year. But yeah, so just to go back through it, first in the division, Niners at 13-4, Seahawks second, 10-7, Cardinals third, 2-15, and Rams fourth, 2-15. You could say they tie for fourth, whichever way you want to spin it. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you guys think I'm stupid, make sure to let me know why. If you think that I'm spitting, also make sure to let me know. I'll probably end up doing the NFC East next. I'll probably go down with the NFC teams and go over to the AFC teams. Something along that lines, but these will be pretty easy videos to pump out, so they'll probably all be out within a couple days of each other. But, yeah, thanks for tuning in, and see ya.